Here today at the Rock Pit, I'm joined by Steve Welsh, frontman for Dead City Ruins, who are appearing at the Brightside on August 30th in Brisbane for the first time in a very long time in that neck of the woods. This is the second Rockers Not Dead festival, and Dead City Ruins are co-headlining the show. Steve, welcome, and how's things?
Thanks for having me, Andrew. Things are going really well. The boys and I are, we wanted to ramp up the shows this year and really play as much as we can. We've done that so far, which has felt really good. And yeah, really looking forward to the upcoming show up in Brisbane. It's going to be good.
So you had a 10th anniversary tour last year that didn't quite make it to Brisbane.
No.
You guys must be stoked, and the fans must be stoked that you guys are finally coming to the northeast of the country again. Um, what's the fan? How have you found fans in that neck of the woods? Obviously,
Yeah,
being Rockland
always.
based, you have a strong hometown following, but
Yeah.
Brisbane's been a little while between drinks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we always get plenty of support up there, and we've been trying to get up there. We actually did have a couple of shows planned up there, but there were some last minute cancellations that were sort of out of our control, and we initially thought maybe we'd try postpone them, but as time went on, things got in the way. So that's where we figured we saw this opportunity come up. We thought, you know what, let's bring some of that up there this time. But always lots of support with the Brisbane crowd. And it's always a fun place to play a show.
Absolutely, and I mean, obviously, as you said, this year's been a busy year for you guys so far. Lots of supports and getting yourself back out there, as well as some more local based shows, which have been fantastic. Um, what else have you got in store for the rest of the year? Has the band been writing or getting ready for the next phase?
Absolutely. So that was one of the other conversations we had sort of towards the tail end of last year, is that this year we really wanted to work on writing some new material, and we have been doing that in the background. So you know, we're at the point I suppose, in the journey that we're just trying to really understand what it is, what we want to bring to the table this time round. And so every idea is just on the smashing board right now. We're just throwing things, riffs left, right, and center. And, whenever we come up with something, we shoot it off to the rest of the band, whoever it may be. We're all sort of contributing, going, hey, here's a cool idea. Let's see where it goes. And if you're lucky, or you think about it, sometimes you'll find a riff that makes friends with that other riff, and then you start to piece yourself together a bit of a song. So
Absolutely. And is there any new material that's almost gig ready?
I wouldn't say that there's anything that's gig ready per se, but we've definitely got some structures that we're going to start toying with uh, in a live environment, not at a live show, but practicing that in a live space, at a rehearsal space, to see how it feels. Uh, should we bring that to a live environment? So that's kind of the phase that we're at, is seeing what could work in that space.
Incredible. Now, obviously, you've Shockwave was your first debut with the band. Obviously, there was the Never Say Die re-record that you did as well,
Yeah.
which was a wonderful introduction to you as well, and a nice bridging stage from Dead City Ruins of old to the Steve Welsh phase. Um, how challenging was it to go back, and what was the mindset behind going back and recording Never Say Die vocally?
So that was an interesting one. The label actually approached me with this, and there's I suppose some bureaucratic reasoning behind it, with the timing of when the album came out to when Jake decided to leave. And so the decision was made that it would be beneficial for the band to have some recordings with a new singer, considering we had the European tour coming up. So it was sort of me that helped tour that album in that space, and I felt strange about it, but I guess being new, I wanted to do a good job and sort of follow the guidance that had been set up for me. Um, but it also gave me a chance to hear how I might deliver those songs because I'm a different singer. And I followed, it's 90% the same as what Jake would what Jake did on the record. But just with a few of my own personal touches to help me navigate in a live. And to be honest, even listening to them now, the way that I sing them live now, has sort of changed and evolved again. And that's just how it is with singing and playing a live show. So you refine. But in terms of the mindset, I wanted to be as useful and versatile at the time, and so I did what they asked me to do, and I did the best that I could. So that's explains that.
Absolutely, and I mean, I love the version. I love both versions of the record, and I think your take on those vocal parts are nothing short of perfect in that regard, and was a fantastic, look into the future for what Shockwave would become. Now, Shockwave's
Yeah,
3 years
appreciate
old
it.
now, or almost three.
Yes, almost 2.5 years. Yeah.
So, and what a record that is.
Thank
It's
you.
a true stamping and coming of age, I think, of the band again.
Yeah.
It's a different direction and beast, and just oozes personality. When it comes to writing songs that work for the band, how much input did you have in Shockwave?
A lot. Me with my background and recording and preparing music and videos, I got a lot of multimedia sort of expertise, and what that enabled me to do was sort of come up with riffs, record them, and get them to like a demo ready status at home. And so I did a lot of that work. And when we were recording and writing the album, before I actually joined the band, here's an interesting story. Before I joined the band, the boys gave me a track that they had in the back pocket, and they said, we're interested to see what you could write vocally. And so in 4 hours, I wrote and recorded a whole song. And that song at the time went by a different name, and it had a whole bunch of different lyrics. But it blew the boys away. They were really impressed at, the lyrical structure, what I delivered, the lines themselves, the vocals, the singing, and just the edge that I sort of put on it. That song eventually became Speed Machine.
Wow.
So, in terms of writing, and this to extend that story as well, when I wrote that, it was more kind of like I'm just going to see what I can do with a day, and I wrote it in about 4 hours, and then recorded it and sent it off to them, and they were like, "This is fantastic. This is exactly what we're looking for." And then we sort of put it to bed. But when the album came round, we had that song, and the boys were like, "We want to put it on there." And I said, "Well, I haven't written any lyrics," and they said, "Just use what you did. Just use." And I was like, I don't want to use that because that was very less intentional. That was like more of a proving ground thing for me. And so the day before we put it off, it was the last song recorded. The day before we had to record that song, the lyrics for Speed Machine came to me. I was probably too much information in the shower, the idea vault that I like to call it, as most people do. And I thought, you know what? I have an idea. And then I went downstairs and I recorded the demo for Speed Machine in a day. And then
Wow.
I took it in. I took it in the next day when we were recording the album. I said, "Boys, I've done something. You just have to trust me." And they did. They said, "Whatever you do, Steve, we trust you." And then that was Speed Machine, which became one of our most beloved tracks on the album. So it's a real special song. But with my writing background, I was able to do that and just deliver immediately what I had in my head.
For sure. And
Yeah.
I mean, live that song stayed a staple of the set, and it goes over incredibly well, as does the sets that are incredibly well crafted. And I guess the beauty about what you guys refer to as the half hour of power fondly is that
Yes.
in the support set, it really is a great journey. Now we're actually really lucky that in Brisbane we'll get to see a longer set from you guys, and hopefully we'll get to see and hear a few of the deeper cuts. Is there a favourite Dead City Ruins song that you have from the Jake era and one that you have from your era?
Yeah. I think there are Bones from the Jake era. Bones is a real treat because it's just a really well written song. It sits really well within my personal vocal range as well, despite the fact that I do sing it a little differently to how Jake would have done. And sometimes that comes down to where it's placed in the set to how much energy I have as well. So Bones is always a good one. But in the recent show, oh goodness me, I've just forgotten the title of the track. It's off the original one. Give me 1 second, sorry. Not Dio, not Blue Bastard. What's the other one? Anyway, Bones would probably be my number one favorite to sing. And then on Shockwave, I would say the one that probably amps me up the most, I would say Preacher, because that was the first song that we really all wrote together. But there's something about getting that entire crowd at the very end. We usually keep Preacher till the end. There's something about getting that entire crowd right at the end, just going hard and being into it. Or Vision, because that's usually an early song in the set, and that gets people moving. So I suppose there's a bit of a look into some of those favorites there.
Absolutely. And I mean, it has to be said, I mean, I love watching you guys because of what you're able to do with the crowd in such a short period of time. It really is. I mean, I look around at other people in the crowd, and the smiles after your set, it's amazing to witness. And I think you guys are probably one of the toughest acts to have to follow, I think,
I appreciate that.
In a live environment.
DIB is the song I was thinking of. Sorry, I've just woken up for it. DIB is actually vocally is one of my favorites to sing because it gives me an opportunity to do those big rises. And Blanche, I taught him some of those harmonies in that spot, and that's one of my favorites of the pre Never Say Die album. Sorry, that's what I meant to say before.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
So, for anybody who hasn't seen or heard Dead City Ruins, how do you best sum up what you do live and musically and stylistically?
I would put it this way. The show you never knew you wanted to see until you're experiencing it. That's what we try and deliver. We try to create a massive energy and get people involved. One of my things is a lot of people tell me afterwards, after the show, that they really enjoyed the way that I interact with the crowd and that it got them moving. And my goal is to get out there and have people feeling as comfortable as possible so that they can let loose and have a bit of fun. And one of the ways that I usually do that is I just tell people what to do. I tell people how to get involved, and I say, I give them a pathway and go, hey, we're doing this. Let's have the fun here right now. And that's kind of the energy that we want to bring to a show, that if you've never seen us before and you want to get out and you want to actually just have a lot of fun at a show, that's what DCR are all about.
Excellent. And I guess, that ties in perfectly with the spirit of what we're trying to, of what's happening with Rockers Not Dead. I think there was a statement, and there have been people in the industry, for everybody from Gene Simmons to whatever, they said, "Oh, Rock's dead." In your eyes, is Rock dead?
Okay, this is sort of a broad question, because I don't think rock is dead. It's just evolved. Is it, you think about what gets played on the radio and things like that. That's one way to sort of measure how well something's doing. But to be honest, when we play shows, there's people there every single time. People want it. The format and the way that it's delivered is different with Spotify streaming. There's a massive self-marketing and promotion. There's this whole thing involved that wasn't really a big thing, before 2010, 2015. And that's probably the last time rock was really played. Think of Wolfmothers and Jets and things like that. And these days, the format's changed. And so it's kind of like, if you think it's dead, to me, you decided that you didn't want to evolve with it. And so it's alive as long as we're still speaking its name, and that's what we do.
exactly, exactly. It's it's a pressing question that, I mean,
Yeah,
for an industry, I mean, there are bands that are going out that I mean, and even when you look at, I guess, specifically the last 15 years of the industry, where it has, as you say, evolved and changed, and
mm,
started to come back full circle to a certain degree as to how we consume our music. Um,
absolutely. Record sales are through the roof.
yeah,
People want to collect and have something tangible. And that's the trophy these days. It's like, sure, the evolution is that you don't go out on day one and you buy the CD. You're going to stream it on Spotify. You probably listen to it on YouTube for free. And if you like it, you go, you know what? I want the trophy, the collectible to represent that I love that. And that could be in the form of a t-shirt, could be in the form of a stubby holder, or it could just be in the form of taking a mate or two and just going and watching the band play live, you know.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And if we can just roll back a little bit with you, personally, I mean, your vocal style is powerful. It's
Thank
so
you.
well pronounced. An amazing tool. Who are your influences, and who influenced you and made you become the singer that you are?
Thank you, first of all. I really appreciate that because as a singer and doing the things that I've done online, you question yourself a lot on are you delivering the truest version of yourself a lot of the time. So that's nice to hear. But vocally, my biggest influences, there's probably three main influences and then a couple of lyrical influences. So the vocally, the delivery would be I would say Sebastian Bach, which is, he's just kind of like the ultimate powerhouse in that
Yeah,
sort of window of time. Ronnie James Dio is another massive inspiration of mine. And then Rob Halford of Judas Priest would probably be. I can't say there's any one particular favorite, but they're all sort of swimming in there. And then you know, the list can extend to Chris Cornell and Lane Staley and things, but those three guys are probably where I would situate myself in what I try to deliver.
yeah,
And then lyrically, my two favorite lyricists of all time, one again is Rob Halford. Just when I was writing Shockwave, um, funnily enough, the term shockwave came from Rob Halford lyric that I wanted to put into The Sorcerer. So magma shockwave going to melt the ground, and then we decided to call the album Shockwave. But then the other one is Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper is probably one of my favorite lyricists because of the way that he describes something, And then I'll use the example with Speed Machine. You're not driving down the road, you're burning down the motorway. All right, it's taking the boring line of the thing that you're describing and just turning all of those buzzwords up to 11 along the way. When I was writing the album, I literally had a page full of buzzwords that I wanted to use in place. In Sorcerer again, magma shockwave going to melt the ground. And it was instead of sitting on his castle, sitting on his chair on the hill, golden shroud atop an iron throne. Like I just tried to dress these boring words up as much as humanly possible. And between Alice Cooper and Rob Halford, lyrically, that's where that inspiration comes from.
and that unity and that brotherhood. I mean, knowing you all personally too, is
Yeah,
obvious. It's incredible.
yeah,
It really is good to see a band of brothers go out there and do their thing and be unified in the performance, in the presentation, in the music, and then to come together as amazing humans as well. So it's a
yeah.
real tip of the hat, and I think that's a part of the connection for me, from a fan point of view, other than the friend. Um, so yeah, it's amazing stuff. Now, the one thing that's probably been on the tips of tongues of people for a little while is Tommy Kane. Where
Yep.
is Tommy Kane at the moment, and what's going on with the good man?
So look, Tommy is happily running around the other side of the planet right now, and he's been there for a little while. We're still in communication with him relatively regularly. But for the future of what DCR has in store, that will all be sort of there's a lot of workings that we're working on right now, I suppose is the best way to put it. Tommy has been involved in some things and he's been not involved in others. Obviously, we've had, a couple of other players fill in for the last little bit. But there will be some upcoming developments that we'll be able to talk about very soon.
I mean, aside from Tommy being, a founding member of the band, the two people that you've had filling in, Nick Castellini
Webby.
and Webby, have just been incredible additions to the band. It's like splitting hairs. The energy is there, the passion is there, the unity is there.
Yeah.
So, despite Tommy not being here and living his best life for now, overseas doing what he's doing, the band has chosen really, really well. Have you decided who will be playing at Brisbane?
Castellini will be jumping on for Brisbane because he's nice and close.
Yep.
And we love him, he loves us, and despite the fact that both him and Webby do such a good job playing shows, they fit, like you said, they deliver the right energy, they listened and they learned and they adapted, what we try to bring as a band, and they did it so well. So we're always happy to have either of them on stage with us. But yes, Castellini will be jumping on the Brisbane shows, which would be fantastic. We haven't played shows with him for a few months. Yeah, we're really looking forward to bringing that energy back to Brisbane and just really hitting some home runs there.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much for your time today, Steve.
Thanks for having me.
Talking about Rock Is Not Dead, and obviously about everything that is Dead City Ruins, past, present, and upcoming. We're looking forward to catching up in Brisbane on August 30 at the Brightside. And for any parting words for anybody that might be on the fence about coming along and checking out a great night of rock and roll.
Oh, if you don't do it, you will regret it. Make sure you're there because we'll make it very well worth your while.
Fantastic. All right, Steve. Thanks so much for your time today. And
thanks, Andrew.
See you in Brisbane on August 30.
I'll see you.